I'm waiting for it to show up so that I can be like, let me. Okay. So we're going to try this again. This is Thursday Thunder for the second time. Yay.
Oh boy.
All right. I got to get back in here and send it over to the other page. But why? Now, why? Hold on. We're having technical difficulties.
Well, in the meantime, I got Kathy's cards pulled so I can wait for her to come back.
Right?
I guess I needed that reprieve.
I think it had more to do with that conversation we were talking about before we came on.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, most definitely.
Uh-huh.
Without a
Hi,
doubt.
Kima. we're having a part two, Kima. If I don't know if you saw the first half of it. We started the show and kind of got shut down, so we had to start all over again. So we're getting caught up now. I will say that the main thing I had gotten so far was you're definitely going through some major transformation, some soul retrieval, fractal energies, and trying to piece these things back together from what I had gotten. And okay, cards, you get on my nerves. Now they're over that deck. I will try to pull a card in a second for the collective, and then when I see Kathy, I'll come back for Kathy.
Yep.
Are we going to change now? They're being anal, let me tell you. I have patience. I feel like they're going, we're on standby. Would you wait a moment? Maybe it's not all okay on their side either. Which would make a lot of sense. I mean, we can't all have everything we want right when we want it and have it all work out. Sometimes things just have their natural funky flow to things. And apparently that's kind of what's going on with today's show as well as in general life.
Yep.
So, and the next thing that's coming out is natural loss. So this is speaking about, going with the flow, having some patience, going with the flow, let things do as they need to as they are unraveling, and stop trying to over control it. Or at least that's the way I'm taking the way that this has all just gone down.
We're just here for the ride.
Yeah. And that's a good way of looking at it because that's really what it is. I mean, it's just in the soul's perspective of how long the soul is everlasting. This is just a moment of what's going on in your life. So go with the flow. You're literally here for the ride and make the best decisions you can. Take your time. Don't overdo it. With that being said, I'm going to try to pull for Kathy.
Oh boy. So in the meantime, I have divine alignment. This is about getting in touch more so with the divine self than divinity in the aspects of deities and guidance guardians and things like that. Be your own god for the most part. Obviously within means, don't get that cocky attitude and all that other shit, but worship yourself as you would your fellow deities, things like that. Make sure that we pamper the self, be a little selfish, care for the self. I mean, you only got one meat sack for this point in time, so take care of it.
Whoa. Okay. Kathy. Telling you. That's all I can say right now. Just as I kept telling you. All right. What I have is Bride in a Cage. Now, this doesn't look like the happiest of cards. And it's not. This the way I see this, I mean, if you can see the card, I mean, she's more or less turning into a skeleton. And the way that my heart and soul, when I see this, is like, if you're waiting for the right time, you'll be waiting forever. Okay? So, whether it's meeting your spirituality, meeting your soulfulness, your growth, what it is bride in a cage. If you're waiting for the perfect time to hit, there's never going to be a perfect time. The only perfect time is now, by going with your intuition, trusting in yourself, allowing yourself to move forward. If you're waiting, you will be waiting forever. And it won't work out for you in that form. Now, the next card that is coming in is alone in this world. And in a form, it does go with this. You know, feeling like, you know, you're waiting forever. It's not really going anywhere. You're in this beautiful wedding dress, waiting for the next part of your beautiful life to start. But hell, I'm going to grow old before this actually happens. You're feeling like you're alone in the world. And this is a big piece of going into that next level of spirituality. Like I said, as we come into this, often we start to feel like, you know, as we're coming out of just the 3D, we're starting to awaken. We're starting to really deal with the truths. We think that it's going to make the world better. It doesn't. It's just really peeling away layers. It's not that you're alone. It's you're discovering new aspects that many people are not willing to go into with you. You're starting to see things from a bigger perspective that when you wake up, that most people are never going to see because they're not ready to go down that road with you. But keep walking it, because this is peaceful among the thorns. So you're going to see things that are unhappy. You're going to see things that the world should not be doing. You're going to feel things that, you know, are wrong coming out of it. But you're going to find your inner peace. Just like the beautiful rose has thorns. This is also speaking to you about your boundaries and knowing what you can let the people in and when you can't. Knowing when you're talking to people who you're really just wasting your time and energy with all of that know-how that you now have, and they're never going to get it. This is learning how to find your peace as you're growing and realize that, unfortunately, yes, it is two separate worlds. I hope that's helpful, Kathy.
So, Kathy, for your kiddo, I have 6 of Cups, which speaks to reminiscing, thinking about nostalgia, childhood things, you know, daydream to a time that was hell of a lot simpler. We have 3 of Pentacles, which speaks to teamwork, basically collaborations. And then we've got another cup. We have 7 of Cups, which speaks ultimately to major decisions when it comes to feelings of the heart and things like that. So if she feels that she may be being tugged by perhaps somebody that's passed on that she's known, and she's dwelling on certain things like that she's reminiscing a little too much, I wouldn't really jerk her out of that pattern. It's for her own good. She's solidifying that bond that she thinks is frayed due to whatever circumstance of that loss. Help her maybe fortify that a little bit more. She's doing everything within her means, but maybe you can show her the way to strengthen that in a way she's not thinking of.
Well, this was for the collective, but it may go with what she just said for Audrey. Because what I got is 2 cards. It's gratitude, but it's perception. So how are you viewing, or she, or any of you? How are you viewing the world around you, the situation at hand? Because the way we see things, we have a lot of times where, you know, I had a friend who was, you know, I'm like, you should be thankful for stuff. She's like, you know, she'd be a smart ass about it. And ultimately she's throwing, you know, shit back out out at the world to create more bad shit. You know, if you're looking at things from the perspective of a lower vibration, no matter how hard or bad or challenging a situation may be, then the compliment and the thank you and the, you know, graciousness of that lesson isn't necessarily getting tweaked properly, and it may end up shifting the manifestation not necessarily the way you want it. So perception with that gratitude has a lot to do with where your manifestation takes you, and making sure that you're seeing the bigger picture and you're not getting blocked on half-ass, sideways, small ego domestic bullshit. Whether, like I said, whether that was for Audrey or for everybody, because it came up for the collective.
Yep. I don't know if you had something else to say.
No, I'm
okay.
just, I'm not allowed to do Gracie yet. That's all I know is at the
Okay.
moment I have to hold back on Gracie. Go ahead.
Okay. So we have judgment here. Judgment speaks to actually rebirth. If we look at the imagery here, it speaks a little bit to that evolution. We have the butterflies. As we know, you got to sit there and evolve, get out of that little wormy caterpillar, go into the beautiful cocoon, or maybe sometimes the not so beautiful cocoon, and then bam, butterfly. It's ascension, it's evolution, it's constant change. So it's about changing your views. If you're steadfast in this one ideal that you have that you know is a little bit cringe, you know it's a little tweak it just so. Like, don't get out of your comfort zone totally, but just sit there and Lord, another one.
I was trying to, but it's not letting me. Huh. Yo. Go ahead.
But just make sure that we're not totally changing ourselves, but we're just tweaking some of the toxic things that we know we do. We know we have that kind of icky, not so good stuff sometimes. Anyway.
For whatever reason, I'm having trouble blocking the person, but typically, just so you know, if we catch you guys trying to come in on the show and trying to throw out, yo, inbox me.
Yeah.
We're going to block you. So, for whatever reason, I'm letting you know, if they were interested in coming to you, they would already be coming to you.
Exactly.
What I have is High Tide. It's from my Sacred Geometry deck. This is coming in reverse, which is speaking to you of, you know, the over emotional waters coming in, but it's speaking to you of having to actually confronting the imbalances and actually taking control of them, doing something about it and making the changes. It's not just that those emotional high tides, that emotional roller coaster is taking place. It's not about trusting your intuition and going with the flow in this situation. It's actually speaking of needing to ride that water and direct your boat, so to speak, and make sure that you are confronting everything that is actually happening, because this is not the time to avoid it. It will misdirect you.
All right. So this is still a new deck. So I'm kind of like ooh and ah over it. We have the Innocence of Swords, which is actually Page of Swords. Page of Swords speaks to being patient. They're very naive. They're the first step in the royal suits when it comes to page, knight, king, and queen. The page kind of gets shit on sometimes, but there's a lot of knowledge that the page has to give. The page reminds us, especially in swords, because swords is about taking action and the element of air, that we need to maybe not so much just and get in there and act all rash and shit and rush into everything. That's more of the knight's forte, because the knight is more tactical. The page is about learning, watching from afar first before we go in, lunge in, and, you know, trip and fall on our ass and be embarrassed, you know, all that good shit.
Oh, and be embarrassed. What I'm getting is the great power. This is Tai Ching. And this is speaking of, you know, birth, death, rebirth. It is allowing the death to happen for the rebirth to happen. It's allowing you to come into the authority of yourself, the strength of the inspiration of yourself by the shock and awe of what you're learning. It is speaking to you of the strengthening of your character. It is speaking to you of finding your own personal authority, your dignity, self-confidence, leadership, and potency. I mean, it's a very shaman card of coming into your power, into your wholeness, the seed of who and what you are, and, you know, rebirthing, allowing this to happen, because this is definitely needed at this time.
All right, so we have Emperor in reverse, or Sky Father as they're called in this deck. Emperor in reverse can speak to many things that we lack, whether that's monetary value or otherwise. It could be we feel that lack of masculinity, whether that's within ourselves or within the presences around us. It's about maybe building that for ourselves, be our own royalty. It doesn't have to assume a gender per se, but make sure that we have that influence, that more regal touch when we go to do things, be a little more tactful with our words rather than, again, like I said prior with the page, just, you know, assing around and then, oh, look, we look like a damn clown instead of the emperor we're supposed to be.
I still have to pull one more for Gracie. What I'm getting is it's more or less the master of inspiration for Gracie. This is coming into new levels of understanding. It's community, it's integrity. This is starting to learn into actually coming into the mastering of her power, understanding where she's going with this. And I already know somewhat of where that is taking her, because they're leaving me vague on something at the moment. And you've got the Morgan coming in. The Morgan would be considered a triple goddess. She's often looked at from the darker perspective of the death perspective as well. And especially with who I'm dealing with and for Gracie and stuff, this is definitely dealing with walking that walk, talking that talk, understanding what you're walking and what you're talking, and making sure that, you know, they're coming together. That the power, like of the Morgan, or the power of the Morgan, you know, of in her, which is also that power of Grimm that she deals with, you know, is coming, they're coming together as one. And that's part of what that homework was about, of making sure that this is coming together like so. But yeah, I don't like that. Take me somebody somewhere better. Thank you. It's still about her duality. Finding her or her own energy, and not losing herself in the energy of him, them, and where she's going. It's her own duality, her yin, yang, her masculine, feminine, her dealing with them, her dealing with herself. This is tension and fear and helplessness of what is going on with this shifting as she's taking place. Learning that the duality is the oneness, and that it is not separate, but yet you are completely separate. If that can make any sense. Hold on, give me another card. Thank you. We are not separate. It's the medicine wheel. We are not separate. We too move in seasons, and it's the natural flow, the ebb and flow. She's just learning how to do her homework and understanding what that means. Like I said, I've got a lot more homework coming for Gracie, but I'm making sure she's getting through this hump first. So it's just allowing her to work through that, I think. Okay, I'm done.
No problem. So have Seven of Pentacles in reverse. This is speaking to having long-term goals. Where are yours at? Do you have any? You should have some. Also, too, it's a lack of drive and passion. So, do you feel in between things? Do you not know where to go? Do you feel that you're stretched too thin to give something your attention fully? That's something to be looked at. As we've stated before, March is not going to be kind. We need to find something that we can hold on to as snugly as possible before that time hits. Whether even if it seems something insignificant to somebody else, fuck them. You need to do what you need to do. Find that drive for you, nobody else. Don't let anybody else's criticisms spurn and just, make things fizzle out for yourself.
What I'm getting next for the collective, this is the Eight of Swords, but this is a grimoire deck, and I don't use it as the Eight of Swords at all. I use this one specifically for the pictures. And this is a monster having you in a cage, more or less. Look who just came and says, hello, mommy. Can you maybe get into your magic? Anytime the cats show up when I'm doing the work, that's pretty much what they're bringing. This is, if you're feeling like you're trapped, you're being controlled, somebody is directing your life. This is speaking of where you're letting the power of you out. You're allowing other people to create your reality, manipulate the situation, how you're viewing it from a lower perspective. And if you're feeling like you're in this cage, this is saying, for one, break away from that, break away from what's making you feel down, what's making you feel, all the pressure that's going on. Simply step outside of this. Go out and play. Do something fun. Break away, get your mind control back, and then start recreating. Because if you're continuing to live from this aspect, that's the aspect you're going to continue to live. But sometimes you've got to break away from it in order to recreate and come into that freshness of giving yourself the ability to do so. So it's just saying, you're creating your reality. Make sure that you're in charge of it, not somebody else.
Definitely. And also, too, make sure we're not disillusioned or we're trying to fluff ourselves up or try to, everything's lights and rainbows and everything else, because we have Six of Cups in reverse, which is letting go of the rose-colored glasses. If everything's not perfect, it's not perfect for a reason. Keep that in mind. Make sure that we withdraw some of our emotions to others because we can feel drained. As we've said before, overextending to other people is not the way to go sometimes, especially if they know they can worm their way in and just nest there forever because you're over here and like, hey, that's totally fine. They're in need. Yeah, but the thing is, they're in need because they know that you're always willing to give.
I'm sorry to be laughing, but Neptune just got up here. In case you don't know, Neptune's my cat, and he just threw all of my cards everywhere. And then the only deck he didn't pick up, that he didn't knock around, the Tower. This is what's supposed to happen. Every single one of us are getting the Tower in some way, shape, or form. It is destruction for construction. So, and as I say that, look who comes back. Hi. In order order for the new world to begin, I've been saying it for years. It's the beginning of, you're in the Aquarian age. But the Aquarian age can't be what we were told the Aquarian age is until we destroy the Piscean age. And we're in the process of that. You're getting tower after tower after tower, after transformation after transformation after transformation. Literally, my cards were just thrown everywhere. This is pick yourself up, dust yourself off, find out what is still a good foundation, what is not, what is working, what is not, and you're going to continue to do this, especially through the next 3 months.
Yeah.
Because the next month and a half is going to get harsh fast.
Yep.
And the zombie look is coming out fast. Of everybody, the weirdness is happening fast. And this is just saying the tower is going to set you a brand new. But you can't build back the same tower. You need to get it through your head, every single one of us, that tower has to be created differently.
So it's funny because card that fell out of my other deck is the Awakening. So here it's a tree fae. She's in the process of blooming, of growing. She's got a serpent steadily winding around her, if you can see. Sorry, I'll have my computer up and running soon, and then we'll have, our friend webcam that I got smack. But the serpent stands for forbidden knowledge. It stands for evolution, change, progress, and steady progress. Progress that it goes against societal norms sometimes. It goes against the status quo. It'll sit there and rock people, and it makes them uneasy. That's what we need to do. That's what needs to happen.
And, completely is so. Like what she was just saying. I mean, forget the cards for a second. I've been saying this for a while. I'm like, I know rules sometimes need to be broken, but then there are some rules and with the energies of what's going on right now where it's very much a stickler in the sense of, for lack of better words, putting people in their place. Because people are trying to push situations where they're gotten used to getting away with something. And they're trying to push the situation upon you and continue to get away with the crap they've been getting away with. Where in some of these cases, it's following the rules of going, you know what? No, there's a new sheriff in town. That shit's not taking place anymore. Cha-ching, it's putting your foot down. And some of these energies, that's growth. The setting boundaries, making changes, making so forth happen. You can't grow if you're afraid to make these changes. And sometimes they're hard to stand up for yourself or to put people in their place, but still it has to be done. And in some of these cases, it has to be that sometimes you're the one being put in the place that has to do it because, well, you're the one that will do it. So do it. It all has to do with the way you see things again, the perception. Where are you taking it?
So I have patience. It's more so patience with the self, not so much for other people as to what she was just saying. We need to be, again, I've harped on this since last year. We need to be more kind to ourselves. We need to not sit there and tear ourselves down. We have other people that would be more than willing to do that for us in some cases. So it's about making sure that we're built up, our defenses are fortified, our mind is strong. Like I tell people all the time, when it comes to any type of spirituality, magic, whatever, all is mind. And if you have a weak mind, or if you have a mind that can be swayed, what the hell are you doing? What are you doing for yourself? It's just about making sure that we love ourselves enough at the end of the day, because all we have, honestly, is ourselves.
You came in this world alone. You're probably most likely 100% going out alone.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of the day, that's all you've ever had.
Yeah.
So where are you taking the energy and the power of yourself? Going with what she was saying is it's sacred geometry again. This one is also coming in reverse, which is speaking of being at odds with yourself. And speaking of being at odds with yourself, quiet the mind, take the time, get the meditation, go and start recreating the harmony within yourself and allowing it to show itself. Follow and trust in it. That's all that this is saying is the at odds is nothing more than the ego game of wanting to feel comfortable right now. But in the big scheme of everything, in the big hey, in the big scheme of everything, it's just a moment in time. I've said a million times that I take care of my mom, and I got Grim in my ear right now, and the lower ego perspective of me gets tired. It's a lot of work taking care of somebody who has dementia. There's days where my ego is just like, how fucking long can this all continue? Now, I love my mom. I would never want anything to happen to her. But my ego wants to not have to be so tired, exhausted, worried, stressed. So you've got to be able to be at odds with yourself, acknowledge all parts of you, because I don't like that part of me, but that's a part of my ego. My soul knows your ego's just having a hissy fit because it's not happy, it's uncomfortable, but you're going to be fine. The situation will be fine. Keep steering the ship as you're supposed to. Keep giving the love that you're supposed to. And when you have these hiccups, acknowledge that that's what it is and continue to move on. That's why I say I got Grim sitting here going, use your bomb. So I did.
And then my final card for the tonight, which I'm happy to show, the Hanged Man. So the Hangman always gives me Odin vibes, the sacrifice for knowledge, making sure that also too at the same time we are as flexible as the tree we are attached to. We move with the breeze of the tree of knowledge, just like Odin does when he's hanging there, or impaled, whichever one you prefer. And we take in all sights from all directions, above, below, within, without, all around, everything. Nothing, just leave no stone unturned when it comes to discovering more, whether that comes to discovering new hobbies, anything in the 3D sense, or discovering something beautiful about ourselves. Make sure also too, like I say, that nobody squanders that. Stop letting outside interference cloud everything.
Right? We easily get that interference that comes in, and we start listening to other people's opinions, and before we know it, I call it the chameleon energy. Before we know it, we're far away from what we are, and we've become everybody else. Sometimes you just need to shut that shit down, shut the door, not listen to it, step away from it, remember who you are. Before I give my last card for the night, Cheryl, if you have been watching, I'm gonna send you. I'll do your 3 cards. I'll do 4 since I didn't see you, so that's why we didn't pull your cards for the night. And I'll just send them to you directly. Long story short, what I have, which goes great with what she was saying and with the way the night has been, it is the King of Wands, and it's an uncontrollable force of fire, which is what your soul energy is. When you're stepping into your soul energy, you're in that masculine energy, you're in the action, in the three-dimensional world, bringing it into reality, breathing the fire into life, fanning your fire. And it's speaking of the insight and the understanding through the shadow of pain and confusion is where you learned the inspiration. It's also the freedom. So I think it's a great card right now. Fan your fire. I love you guys. See you next week. Bye. Say bye, Kelly. Bye.